All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one podcast on innovative teamwork. Has been the number one show for about 2 years now, straight. No plans on stopping anytime soon. Brand new episodes every single day. To my regular listeners, you already know how we get down here. Whatever the challenge is, whatever the obstacle is, whatever is in the way of your success, we're here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. And you know your host. At this point, you know your host, Mr. ABC. Always be connecting. And I got to tell you, it was about a month ago, 2 or 3 months ago, when Tampa was going through that Tampa and St. Petersburg. They were going through that tragic hurricane. And, I happened to be in Boca to get some work done. And I stopped at one of my favorite grocery stores is the Fresh Market. So I'm at the Fresh Market and I'm putting the finishing touches on one of my articles. You guys know I write articles like clockwork. I do a lot of articles. I do a lot of writing. So I'm writing one of my articles and I'm trying to just get the right wording. Just, I'm a stickler with it. I'm trying to get it just right. That was my mentality. And I look over and I see this lady who's recording a video. She could never get it recorded because people kept going in and out, in and out, in and out. And she did not give up. I mean, it was over. It was like, okay, we're gonna start it here. We're gonna start it here. We're gonna start it. And simultaneously, I finished my article. She finished the video. We both kind of looked at each other and said, ah, there we go. And I'm like, look, I gotta follow you. I have to follow you. I have to keep up with you on social media. So she reached out. She realized what I did with the podcast and all that. And she was like, hey, man, let's just record a show and really give listeners an idea about, what it's like to be persistent, what it's like to be consistent and things like that. So Zina, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thank you, Aswan. Thanks for having me. Yeah, what a crazy way we met.
Mm. And
You
that's what
just
I
said
tell you
that.
guys all the time. You guys have heard me say it over and over. You have no excuses at all. You can connect with whoever it is you need to be connecting with. It's on you. The persistence and the focus is really on you. You have no excuses if you're looking at your life and it's not where you want to be, blaming someone else. This world we live in, the opportunity is for the folks that actually are focused and they're going to take advantage of it. So, all that being said, let's get into your story a little bit because one of the things that I did really pick up on what you were doing as you were going through that, and as I was doing some research before we started recording, is you have a background in the interior design world. And in many ways, we're good. In many ways, the interior design world is something that not a lot of people know about. So, can you educate us a little bit on your background, kind of where you came from, and some of the things a lot of people may not be aware of when it comes to the work you do in regards to interior design?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing I'll say is that I feel like I was kind of born, like it's innate. The design part is innate because I remember even like being small, going to relatives' houses and rearranging their furniture obnoxiously. But
And you
so
were like,
I
yeah,
knew I
that's
loved
that's
doing
right.
that. Don't mind me. Um, and for fun, my fun was like drawing floor plans, whatever. So anyway, it's just in me. And then went to school for marketing, growing up in New York, and then I went down here in Florida to Palm Beach State for interior design and started with an interior designer as her mentor. And she taught me everything. She was paying it forward, she said, and got started from there. It's been over 20 years. I've done interior design for, celebrities, for new construction, renovations, remodeling. A lot of things changed when COVID came because people started working at home more and noticing their home. And either we had to renovate a extra bedroom into a home office, or they were feeling like they weren't being as productive as they could be because they're just looking around and like cabinets are outdated, the bathroom, this, that, and they became more aware. So I was able to help them transform their spaces so that they felt happier, more productive, and that it made me really happy. But yeah, so that's kind of the backstory. Story of you seeing me recording that day was I started my little design tip of the month, which you guys can follow on Insta and also Facebook. But I went out of my box, just like you were talking about. I was shy in front of the camera
Mhm.
and just figured, okay, let's make something up for January. And then it's like, okay, hi, I'm Zina. It took 10, 20 takes. And then every month, a little better, a little better. And then the only reason we had to record many times is because of that shopping cart coming through the door.
The topic.
But
I was
yeah,
feeling for you guys because as I was, I mean, it was sort of distracting to me too because I was working on my article. But as I kept seeing, I'm like, oh man, you guys just not. It's not your day today, huh? That's
yeah, but we were not
right.
giving
You
up,
were not gonna give
just
up.
like you said. And yeah, so that's
Shout out to
kind of,
the friend too. I'm not sure if she's lit, but shout out to the friend that kept recording because I know that was challenging for her too because she had the phone and it's like, all right, I gotta stop again.
yeah, that was my assistant. Yeah, yeah, we know what to do. So,
So, what school did you go to in New York?
it was a community college. It was very small. It's called Troy
Mhm.
Community College in this little town of Troy
I
in
graduated from
upstate
Stony
New
Brook.
York.
Yeah, I
Hmm?
graduated from Stony Brook in Long Island.
Yeah, yeah. So upstate cold and
Right.
then yeah, not
When
exact.
when you get a whiff of this Florida wind, you don't typically go back. At least most people I know don't really go back or don't want to go back. So, you know,
Yeah.
all that being said, I personally and what you do really does resonate a lot with me personally because I teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education. And one of
Mm,
the things that we're constantly emphasizing to the kids is using creativity to engage them in learning. So, you know, we'll have a teaching artist, someone like yourself, come in and show them how, you know, being creative can actually lead to a career for them. So one of the things I want to get your thoughts on is when you look back and you knew, like you said, you knew that you were creative as a kid. However, you know, you learn marketing and stuff like that. How would you say is the best way to communicate the gift that creativity can be in kids? How do you get them to see that gift as something that can be profitable for them at an earlier and earlier age? Because what you probably know is in school, this kind of stuff isn't necessarily recognized at all. You know, that creativity skill kind of goes out the window because A, B, my, you know, everything is kind of has this number attached to it, and the
yeah.
creativity gets lost in the shuffle as you grow up.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, everybody has like their different talents. So let's say we were in a class like that, and there was a choice of even different mediums, like you could do, you know, acrylic paint or pencil or watercolors, colored pencils. So first you see what everyone gravitates towards, and then you kind of see what they do with it. And you might see that the person who picked maybe the colored pencils, they're drawing like figures and shapes and you know they see something in the classroom and they just start drawing that and it's like wow, that's really good. And so maybe, you know, in real life down the road they would become an illustrator, or you know, you never know. And you
Mhm,
see the person that maybe would pick the acrylic paints and
mhm,
they're just painting some abstract, you know, shapes or whatever. You know,
mhm,
who knows, maybe they would become a graphic artist or an artist. Not that that's always the easiest way to, you know, make a good living, but
mhm.
um, I would notice things like that and then kind of encourage them. And then there's so many different like arts and crafts and things that are so different that we didn't even have like growing up. And you know, explore that, walk through a craft store, see what you kind of gravitate towards, and that's what I would say.
Right. We actually just a week ago from this recording, we had Tommy Hilfiger here, the Tommy
Mhm.
Hilfiger, and we had three fourth grade students actually interviewing, and he very much mirrored a lot of what you just said because it wasn't always easy. It was, you know, obviously a fashion designer being who he is. This is not something that you're going to just go to school and learn about. You actually have to put the logos on things, you know, design this and really figure out where your lane is. And
Yeah.
you know, as he was talking, I was actually thinking about, you know, this interview because you know, I was obviously keeping up with your work is when you're were able to find your lane, you know, and you mentioned the mentor, you mentioned the person after school, but when it came to the point where Zena's like, okay, this is my lane and this is how I'm going to do things, because you mentioned, you know, working with celebrities and all that. Can you kind of walk us through that day or with that aha moment like that I like to call it, where it's like, okay, this is me. I love doing this, and you know, we're gonna do this for the next 2 decades.
I do remember the aha moment
Yes,
actually.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll fill in a little more background.
Yeah, good.
So
There's no time limits either, by the way. So if you gotta,
I'm sorry.
we don't have time limits, so you don't gotta worry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I won't talk your ear off too much, but just a
So
little.
I'm here.
Um, um, so the reason I got a marketing degree from New York is because I really wanted to do fashion design at that time. I like sewing,
Oh,
but they
man,
didn't have anything. Yeah, and I
Tommy,
didn't.
if you're listening, look, we got people. No kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Huh?
Yeah, I sewed a bunch of my own clothes, but they didn't have anything up there. I didn't really want to move away yet. I wasn't ready, even though the weather was not great. But anyway,
Home is home.
then
So
I ended up coming to Florida and still doing, interior design for fun, but I ended up getting a job at, a doctor's office doing reception work and whatnot and running the office manager.
but
Got in a car accident and then it kind of
oh,
hurt my spine. Like I was fine, I rehabilitated, but I couldn't sit for long periods of time anymore. So that I had to leave that job behind, and that kind of forced me. The person I was with at the time said, why don't you just go get your degree in interior design. Just go do what you love. And so I got the official interior design degree. And then when I started working with that mentor, and then that kind of ended after a year or two, and I officially had my business, that was the aha moment because I was looking at, the person I was with, I'm like, my title is interior designer. Like that's what I do. Like if someone says, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I
mhm.
get to say interior designer. And like right now I just got goosebumps. And that was the big aha moment for me. Yeah.
So walk like when you look at a room, because I'm always curious to know the mindset of interior designer. There was one I met. There was it was when was it when I first got out to Florida, and it was in St. Petersburg actually, and she was a former wing house girl. Yeah, because I worked at an Orange Theory. And the guy who hired me, his wife, it was his wife who was a former wing house girl, and then he became a realtor, and she's the interior design person that does the work. And I'm always curious about the mindset that you guys have as you walk into a room because I was one of those guys, and I'm going to reveal kind of a childhood side of me that you might laugh at, but I was one of those guys that had a room full of posters, full of, sports figures to the point where it got so tacky that, even my sister and my mother were like, look, this is too much. It just I don't like the feel of it. So I went, and me and my mother, we went to a thrift store. We bought a bunch of frames, and I put the pictures in frames, and I got double stick tape and put it in my room and all that. If mom said, yeah, I remember all that. So my room growing up looked like a damn like a sports memorabilia shop to the point where it did still look tacky versus somebody else's room that may just have one poster and then that's good. So walk us through a little bit of the mindset that you take when you take on a new client to make the home feel. I don't know the term would be maybe homey or maybe a little less more aesthetically pleasing.
Sure, sure. Great question. So let's say I go into a client's home,
Yes.
and the first thing I do, we just they look to me. Well, where do you want to start? What should we do? I was like, well, let's just start right here at the front door. Why don't we walk through the house? You let me know, your thoughts, your goals, your wishes, and I'm pretty much just going to listen.
Mm,
So, we walk through and then they like look at me for comments and I'm like, no, I'm just absorbing. So I guess I would say I absorb the
mm,
space. I feel it. I'm just listening to them in one ear and I'm just feeling the whole space, the
yes.
rest of me. So then we kind of get through and then I'll start talking. Sometimes there's so many thoughts in my head. It's like it comes out jumbly. I'm like, I'm not even talking straight, but it's all going straight through my head. They'll laugh and whatever, but that happens a lot.
Right.
Um, and then the process is usually, we'll sit down, talk a little bit more in depth and, see which way we want to go as
Mhm.
far as, the process.
Right. And the probably the more important question though is who are the ideal clients? Who are the people that you look to work with ideally? And I think it is very important because especially when you're creative, there's a lesson out there for you listeners as well, is when you are creative and you know you're good at it, there's a certain class of people that you deserve to work with. You can't just help anyone. There's a certain field that the client has to have. There's a certain level of commitment. There's certain things that a person needs to have that's going to require them to be a client that you need to have because your creative gift, your gift will make room for you. You have to understand that that gift is a gift. Do not let anyone dim the light on your creative gift because it starts to lessen the value. So I ask you that in terms of when it comes to your ideal person that you're looking to work with, the people that you're looking to serve, can you just kind of describe them as well in case they're listening?
Of course. So I would say it's kind of a spiritual answer, but I'm really
Amen, sister. Come on now. Come on
yeah.
with it.
All right. So other thing about me, yeah, very super spiritual. So I've got to feel the person.
That's
Like if I'm getting some kind of negative vibe or an angry vibe and it's not, it can't be about me or against me because they don't know me, you know.
Mhm.
But I kind of decline. I really go with my instinct. It doesn't happen often, thank goodness, but usually, well, 90% of the time, my business is from referrals anyway. So some of my clients are like four deep already. Like we're on their fourth place or their fourth office or
Oh,
their
nice.
fourth,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, or then the husband, he'll hire me for his office, the wife, you know, for her office, and we do their house. So things like that. So, but in the beginning, if they do not give off a good vibe and
Mhm.
they just don't treat me respectfully,
Right.
because it's got to be respectful,
Mhm.
then I will not work with them. And like
Okay.
anybody, why would we want to hang out with people that are not nice? You know,
And they don't see the value in
forget the
it.
financial part of it. That's not worth it.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean it's funny because as you're talking, I'm looking, and if you're watching this on video, but if you guys, I'm looking at the poster behind you. I'm like, yo, if I had to look at that, I don't know if you're in your office, but I can see
Yeah.
you do what you do because I'm walking by some of these mountains. It's a great scenery, and I'm one of those that really, again, I'm a creative at heart. So stuff like that, I genuinely appreciate. In fact, it was 2 days ago we took the second graders and the first and second graders to the Norton Museum. And they came, yeah, they
Oh,
went to the
yeah.
Norton Museum, and I made that trip with them as well. And a lot of the things that we're discussing in terms of, hey, just appreciate the artwork, appreciate the creativity, appreciate the moment, you know. So the reason I bring that up is I want to give you the opportunity a little bit about to tell a little bit about what's next. You know, what do you see next? What's the next project? What can people expect when they reach out and look you up?
Well, what they can expect first is we like to set up a time to get together so we could be
Yeah.
in person, and you know it depends what they're looking for. Like I just met yesterday a new couple. They're from out of state, and we met at the new construction sales center.
Mhm.
And we were there till like 6, walked through everything, found out what they're looking for, what they need. We talked on the phone prior,
Mhm.
but people can expect to it's a process. So we ask a lot of questions and find out what the goals are. Budget, is it realistic? If
Mhm.
not, you know, if nothing, I'm very realistic and I'll be like, well, we could do this much for about that much, but you know, if you'd like to do this and that, you know, this is it. And because, you know, for over 20 years, my whole company philosophy was we treat our clients how we like to be treated.
Mhm.
So it's easy, you know, I could sleep at night. I know I did the right thing. If they don't have the budget or the wherewithal, or they're really not ready mentally, you kind of do have to get ready mentally when you get work done at your house,
Right.
then it's not the right time. And you know, some clients, it's 6 months later, okay, we're ready now, and
Right.
then we're ready.
Is
So
there a
nothing's
difference? Does it
forced.
work like a realtor? Like, do you work with residential and then go to commercial? Is there a difference in that, or is it just based on referral?
Yeah, I have a lot of realtors actually that
Mhm.
refer me commercial and residential. So uh, when you do commercial, it's more cut and dried, and you really are only dealing with, usually you're just dealing with either the owner or the general manager.
Right.
It's not like a whole board and a whole thing. And then when you're doing the residential, sometimes it's, one person that's in charge. Sometimes it's the other husband, a wife, whatever, one wife, the other wife, all situations. And
Right.
then, I'm always respectful, like, do we want so and so here at our next meeting? And, they'll either be yes, no. So everything's kind of, planned out. There's no surprises. I want everyone on the same page.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how that works.
Mhm. And what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you? Where do you normally send people?
To my website, which is zinasamekinteriors.com. And also, I invite you, just if you want some fun design tips of the month, to follow me on Instagram, Zina Samek Interiors. And I'm on Facebook, same name, Zina Samek Interiors. And I am on LinkedIn. I do post there, but it seems, Insta is a lot easier to get on. And feel free to, email with any questions, message me through my website. I'm happy to help.
Yes, and all of that will be included in the show notes as well. So, Zena, the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are, let's say you graduated college, you're the 18-year-old girl, you're driving to this community college in the cold, windy New York. Your fashion design isn't really tell you're not really sure where it's gonna go. I want you to pretend that that 18-year-old version of you has come into the Zoom room. Give her some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
All right, girl. Even though you are up against some obstacles, you don't even know what's going to be happening. If you trust yourself, trust your gut, just look deep inside yourself and quite honestly find your spiritual self and maybe, ask for help from, a higher being, whoever that might be for you. That's the way to get through everything because things are out of our control. We can't control things. We can just go with them, handle them, and do the best with what is handed to us. So I would just tell that girl to just keep at it. Even if something negative happens, it's for a reason. You might not know what that reason is, even for years to come, but everything negative turns into a positive. So always be positive, even when it's hard. Process your feelings, but then go back to the positive, and you will make it through.
And amen to that. And the reason for you, if you're a first-time listener here, the reason I close out the show with that question is because if that person that I described is you, and do we do it for you? That is the promise, that is the guarantee. Every time you hit the play button on the Move Swiftly podcast, is whatever your challenges, whatever it is you're going through, again, we're here to indirectly tell you you're not going through it alone. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.